Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Radio Show, a once proud member of the now defunct Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. Filmmaker Henrik Kuto is in as guest co-host. We talk on the phone with Pat Jankowitz about scary movies, Fangoria, and, of course, Bigfoot. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at wwsu1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
Say your last name for me so I don't butcher it.
It is Pat Jankowitz.
Jankowitz. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
yeah. That's the Americanized. I guess they call it Yankovic in the old country, but that's too much like that stupid comedian.
Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about.
Maybe. Yeah.
He's kind of weird.
Exactly.
Well, We're pretty much rolling, I think, so we'll just go ahead and get started here. This is the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in with my co-host, Henrik Kuto is in with me.
Hey.
The prolific director of such horror classics as Babysitter Massacre and many others.
many others.
Wow, I'm honored. I have heard of Babysitter Massacre.
And on the phone is Pat Jankowitz, which tell us a little bit about you yourself and all you do. I know you have a podcast, correct? And
I do. We do the Jeff and Janky Show, coming to you live, Montclair, California, 3 days a week on the beautiful Chaotic Radio. I write for a bunch of magazines, the dying print medium. I write for Star Wars Insider. I write for Star Trek. I write for Dark Days. I write for Infinity. I've also written stuff for Fangoria. I've written stuff for a bunch of British sci-fi magazines because, frankly, England has the best-looking magazines on Earth. If you go to Barnes & Noble, I guarantee all the most beautiful ones are English, you know?
I never checked them out, and
it's hard to tell the accent when you're reading them.
That's true. Yeah. You have to read them with like a monocle and a cup of tea. Is that the difference with a British magazine? It comes with a cup of tea.
It comes with a cup of tea. Yeah, it's just a tea bag in there. You know.
Okay. I don't like to be teabagged by my magazines. It's a whole other magazine.
Well.
Shame on you, sir.
So what got you started in all this? We'll start with the radio show and the podcast. What got you started on the Jeff and Janky Show?
My friend Jeff Sargent, he's also a sculptor, does stuff for Disney and the Lucasfilm and all that. He started this podcast by himself, but he's never really talked to people, and so it was kind of 2 hours of endless death. And I mean, the funny thing is, I know how to guide a conversation. Jeff's an entertaining guy, but you guys know how hard this is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so he basically came to me and asked me to do an episode with him because he knew I did a lot of writing. I moderated a lot of panels and stuff like that. So I know where to tease Jeff and how to keep the show interesting.
That's always good.
He would get a good guest on and not really know how to interview them. You know what I mean? You know what it's like, Don. You got to be able to prod them and move them along and keep the interview going.
Oh,
There's got to be. It's like an interview. You guys know this. There's a beginning, middle, and ending. You know, and
I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. So.
But he fakes it well.
I just press on. We'll figure something out as we go.
How long have you been doing This Is the Life, anyway?
What's that?
How long have you been doing This Is the Life?
For the radio show itself, I've been doing for a little over 5 years now. The podcast, I started putting it out as a podcast in January of 2017, I think. So a little over 3 years.
So. Okay, several years. So you're an old hand at this.
Yeah. I've been. You'd never know when you listen, but that's self-deprecating humor.
Self-confidence that grabs me.
No, it's a lot of fun, but yeah, I listened to some of my earlier episodes that I recorded, and that was even 2 years in, and they're
don't do that.
They're horrible.
As good as you remember it.
I am so glad I didn't start recording these out 5 years ago when I first started, because they were bad. There was my first episode ever. It was before I was involved with Wiley's, and I had my first guest ever on the Life radio show was the, at the time, general manager of Wiley's that had just started. And I got him in there. We got to the studio. I didn't even have door codes so I could get inside. Nobody else was there. So we're standing in the hallway, and I'm trying to get a hold of people when I don't really have their contact information to try to get somebody there to let me in. We started the show about 40 minutes late. And
by the way, door codes, when they changed them at our station, we had the editor of the graphic novel Watchmen come in, and they changed the door codes, and she's texting us from outside the building, and it's like, oh no.
Nice. But yeah, we finally got in there, and I could not. It was the first show I'd ever done by myself, and I could not even remember how to play a song on their DJ system. So
isn't that terrible? Part of it was probably nerves, because when I started with Jeff, when Jeff brought me in, I would literally just sit down and kind of guide the interview through the way you would doing. I've done on-camera stuff before. I did that for like the PBS station out here. I did creative content or creative. Gosh, it's been a while since I hosted that. I did about a year and a half on a show called Creative Content, where you'd bring in filmmakers, you'd bring in authors, and you literally interview them. So I know, like when I did that, I would have like 30 minutes, and
right.
You can't mess around. You can't do-si-do. You got to get right to it,
Yeah, I've had 30-minute interviews that could have been done in 5. and I've had 2-hour-long interviews that could have used another 2 hours. So it's
Isn't that amazing? That's always the way, though. That's always. I mean, I just interviewed a great guest the other day, and I did not. 2 hours was not enough time. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and with a film editor or a writer or somebody who's got a really interesting resume, you want time to really do it right and enjoy the interview.
Absolutely, yeah, and then you have some that you think, why did I book?
We've done our share of those. And unfortunately, we're on camera.
Yeah,
we're on camera. So if we have a bad guest, Jeff is like turning to me like, "What do we do?" I have a list of emergency questions. You bring glass in case you need to. You know what I mean? I mean, again, a bad guest or frankly a terrible guest is it's 2 hours in hell.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why I always try to book extra people on my shows. I always try to have a co-host. That way, if all else fails, I can have a conversation with them. I had to actually do that recently, and it's one of those, because every now and then, after you do a show for 5 years and you're booking your own guests,
Right.
Communications with them to get them on the show, every now and then you can think to yourself, this person's probably going to flake. And I had somebody that just from trying to confirm with him for 3 weeks, I thought I better have a backup plan.
Isn't that the worst?
The worst? So I actually had 2 co-hosts in the show with me, and sure enough, 35 minutes into the show, and still have not heard from this guest.
Wow. Well, yeah, but you got the guy who directed Babysitter Massacre. That's important.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's all that really matters. Is that I'm here.
Right.
Did you start with the title, or did you go with it at the end? That's something I always wanted to ask you.
The title came first. Actually, the title and poster came first. I hired my favorite effects makeup artist, and we shot that the iconic artwork of the woman with the garden shears in her face in my own kitchen. And no joke,
who was your makeup artist?
Our makeup artist was an artist named Erica Blackstock. She's a effects artist and a kind of a practical artist as well. She does paintings and sculpting and stuff like that. And that was her first major movie credit. Ended up being Babysitter Massacre. She did a great job. I almost said killed it, but I avoided a pun.
Yeah.
But she was incredible, and
We never avoid puns. On
Well,
this
that's
show,
okay, fair
just so you know.
But we made that poster with
Right into it, boy.
we made that poster, and no joke, it was up on Facebook, and I announced we were going to make it, and I think 2 weeks later we had already signed our distribution deal, and there still wasn't a script yet.
Nice. That's diving in right there. That's just diving in with both feet. We ain't.
Did you take it to the American film market, or did you sell it over there?
Actually, we ended up selling it to a distributor in the United States, who then took it to the markets and stuff like that. So I didn't have to really get up out of my chair too much, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But did you go to AFM when they were selling it?
No, I haven't had a chance to go to AFM. I've had a bunch of films shown there, or presented there, but I've never had a chance to go. I'm mostly just excited to get the checks from China. That's what I look forward to the most. One of these days I'll go, though.
First of all, you've got to deposit it carefully.
Really.
Wow, that's amazing. But to me, AFM, there's so much about the Oscars, and nobody watches the Oscars or anything else. But I mean, when you cover horror or you do horror work every now and then, AFM is a blast. It's like a 3-day blast. You got to go at least once. You've got to have a drink in the hallway with Lloyd Kaufman. You've got to see the great Australian genre filmmaker Mark Savage. You'll see a who's who of every genre actress by the bar or by the distribution table. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I love it because it's like a who's who of B movies, and I love B movies.
Yeah, I've been in 2 films with Lloyd Kaufman, so I've had my fill of Lloyd. Yeah,
I was in one. He did a cameo in a film that never got finished.
What, not Class of Nukem High Return to or something?
Oh no! This was something a local filmmaker was trying to do, and it just never. The full title was "The League of Extraordinary Alcoholics versus the Horde of Really Creepy Undead Zombie Flesh Eaters."
See, you can tell the title was too ambitious for him.
Right.
He couldn't finish writing the title.
Right.
Right. You can get the creepy zombie of the Legion of Alcoholics, but you just can't bring them together.
He said the reason he did that is he kind of had a little argument with the folks from IMDb for some reason, and he just decided he wanted the longest title he could come up with.
Well, this was like 15 years ago.
Right,
IMDb was much less friendly than it is now.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, it's a shame it never got made. It was a great concept. It was a bunch of superheroes that had their powers only when they were drunk.
It's pretty funny.
And I played a character named Bourbon Brave, who was the lead. Now I actually lost 100 pounds to play this part. Not a joke. When I got cast, it was like January when I found out I was going to be playing this part, and they told me what my costume was going to be. At the time I got cast, I weighed 330 pounds.
Wow.
And I saw my costume, and I said, okay. So I started hitting the gym 6 days a week, probably for about an hour to 2 a day. And by the time we started filming in July, I weighed about 225. Yeah.
Gym, by the way, what gym do you do?
I think at the time it was Bally's, which I don't think they exist anymore.
I don't know if Bally's, at least not around here.
Yeah, not around here they don't. But no, my costume, they told me I had a loincloth and a leather vest. That was it. I was like, I am not doing this at 330 pounds.
Well, that's exactly how Lloyd Kaufman would have taken you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loved heavyset guys.
Yeah, they fill up more of the screen, and
that's true.
But you pay the same amount for them. Yeah.
Effect in his book with James Gunn, Make Your Own Damn Movie. He says something to that effect.
Yeah, no, I've read both of those books. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. People forget he worked on Rocky, and he's in a movie with Kirk Douglas. He's in Final Countdown.
I didn't know about Final Countdown. I knew he was in Rocky. He plays a drunk.
Which is a role he's played in many of his own films, hilariously.
Yeah, just in films.
Well, remember, there was a big. I love his wife Pat, but there was a big controversy because she was in charge of films in New York.
Yeah, she was the New York Film Commissioner.
Yeah, and they're giving her crap because he did non-union stuff, but he operated out of Jersey, right?
No, he operated out of Hell's Kitchen, New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, my maps of New York in my head are all picked out by old Marvel Comics.
No, it was definitely unusual for somebody to own a film studio and have their wife be the film commissioner.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, little conflicty.
Yeah, just a little.
Well, you
bit.
know what she did? You know what Pat did? The amazing thing to me is what she did as film commissioner. She allowed, basically, New York was too expensive for the Spider-Man movies. You know, they had all this money, and yet they wanted to spend it on effects. They didn't want to spend it on locations. Pat made sure the first two Spider-Mans got to shoot in New York without the unions breathing down their necks or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she was also, I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she was the first booster to get all of their permits to be free.
Well, yeah, exactly right.
Because New York film permits are free. They just you just need to have lead time because it can take a while for them to process.
Oh,
her stories are great, by the way. If you talk to her for 10 minutes, I mean, Lloyd's stories, of course, are legendary, but you talk to Pat for 10 minutes and she has all these great stories. And I love how Lloyd calls her the commissioner.
Yeah.
He's dealing with a civic official rather than his wife.
That's funny. So tell us about some of your articles you write in some of the magazines. So how did that get started? Was it just a fan thing that started that out, or?
Usually enough, it was a money thing. It always is a money thing. You know what I mean? I mean, when I was in high school, I wrote for my school paper, but we came to California. My family came to California. My father worked at Chrysler and then switched to aerospace and came out here. And when we came out here, my brothers and I were obsessed with the movies, you know, working on movies and stuff like that. So we wound up crashing movie sets. My brother Donald found this ingenious way where he would call the California Film Commission, find out where certain movies he was interested in were shooting, and then, you know, because we were like 14 and 15, we had to find a way to get to the set. So usually, you would scour your friends at school to see who could drive. And this sounds terrible, but I'm going to say it anyway. Your friends who were divorced it was easier if they were easier to stay out all night than your friends with two parents who would be calling up, you know, this is before cell phones. But you had to pick. You didn't want any big scenes at the end of the night. You know what I mean? You wanted to be able to get to the set and no drama. So we started crashing movie sets, and then when I was in college, I was working 4 jobs. I was working at a movie theater, I was working at Trader Joe's, and I was working at Hickory Farms and one other place. And I kept thinking, boy, I wish I could make money in a way that I didn't have to jump between 4 stupid jobs.
Right.
And I went to Barnes and Noble, and I was looking at magazines, and I thought somebody needs to write for these things. So I wound up pitching like 29, 30 magazines one Christmas. And within a month, I literally heard from 29 of them who wanted to buy articles. And
wow.
The articles were so much. I mean, for a college kid to suddenly be handed like $300 to $500 for an article, it took all the weight off your shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow. You're gonna have to try that.
Yeah, it's literally find whatever subject you're interested in and go to Barnes and Noble. And this goes for anybody listening. This goes for books as well. I've written like 3 books, almost done with my 4th. Go to Barnes & Noble, find the books and magazines you're interested in. They have to have people who, you know, write these things. If there's a book you want to read, and yet nobody's made a book like that, go to Barnes & Noble, find a book similar but not the same, and pitch them.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they're interested, you know?
That's how I've sold multiple films, is by going to the shelves of Family Video or going to the shelves of Walmart, finding films like the films I want to create or have created, and then looking at the back cover and going, who got this into this store? And then calling them on the phone.
Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Charlie Band told me when there was a Hollywood Video, Charlie Band would talk to the Pimply Clark kid, you know, the teenage... And he goes, Charlie Band told me this great story about how he came up with the Evil Bong movies. He was in a Blockbuster or something, Long Gone Place, and he said what he would do is talk to the clerks, which is really smart, you know, because these are the kids who are putting their hands on everything, or they were at the time. They know every genre and they know what does well. And Charlie said to him on a Saturday night, "What's your most popular movie?" And the kid looked at him and he says, "It's always the drug comedies." He goes, he said, "Drug comedies, Harold and Kumar, even more so than Cheech and Chong. It was the modern drug comedies,
right, like Pineapple Express, and
exactly, which is very funny, by the way.
Yeah.
So he the idea that Pineapple Express is a great story. I interviewed Seth Rogen, and his log line was, he goes, it's a caring drug dealer who takes care of his grandmother, and he goes, nobody wants to go hang out with their drug dealer, but that's all the drug dealer wants to do is hang out with his favorite customer. And I'm thinking that's a great idea, and of course they pull it off really well,
Yeah.
But talking to the clerk, like he did at the time, that's how Band would figure out how to place his money. He wanted to know what was moving, and of course he made like 4 or 5 Ginger Dead Mans and Evil Bongs because it was making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Evil Bongs.
Oh, he's still cranking them. I think they were up to 7 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have a friend, David Duvall, who's done like 2 of them. So
I'm a fan of his work, of David Duvall's work. He's got some cool stuff.
His head doesn't need to be any more swelled. But I'm a Rolling Rondo nominee. He's got like 5 of them. So I'm not bitter or nothing.
So you said you'd written 3 books, almost 4 now.
Yes. Book 4 is halfway done. I've got to do about 4 more interviews. I can't say what it is yet because of the NDA, but it'll be fun. I wrote one in the Jaws franchise. I wrote one in the Incredible Hulk TV series. Stan Lee, Lou Ferrigno, and like 100 other people are in it. And one requested by my publisher, I wrote Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, a TV companion.
Huh.
Yeah. So classic films and television, I guess. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
there
definitely.
you go, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's fun. That's fun to be able to write that kind of...
Yeah. Well, and as the internet age has made information so much more accessible, you're finding a lot more really cool stuff, informative stuff about film and fandom.
Right.
Easily. You know what I mean? You hit on the internet, and not only that, running a book like this and going on the internet, it's like finding different cults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea if there would be an audience for Buck Rogers when I'm writing the book, and when I was watching the series, I went out and I was watching the series. I went out and picked up the DVD, and there were some episodes that were so excruciatingly 80s. I'm thinking, is anyone going to friggin' read this book? But then there's stuff like MeTV. There's a channel. I'm sure you guys have.
Yeah, we have it too.
Yeah, and they do like they call Sci-Fi Saturdays, and they run Buck Rogers reruns, and they get this huge following of people. I have a site for all 3 of my books, different sites, and you'll find out from these different cults, and they'll it's funny because they have fiefdoms and cults, and they'll want to debate little details from each episode. And it fascinates me. You know what I mean? It's like a different culture you didn't know existed.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because I've heard like the Star Trek fans being like that. I didn't know there were several different ones. I didn't know there was a Buck Rogers fandom like that.
Amazing, isn't it? I mean, Star Trek fans. I would push that past cult and go to like major religion.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone who writes for Star Wars and Star Trek magazines. Star Wars and Star Trek are basically the Anglican and Episcopalian churches.
It's the established denomination there.
Yeah. They're always quick to call out blasphemers. I mean, it fascinates me that there's so much devotion, and I mean, you'll find in different sects in Star Trek, SECTS, right, where it's like no, whatever the new one is, they call it STD, but the company frowns on that. Star Trek. No, you invalidated this episode by doing that, and they look upon J.J. Abrams as a blasphemer because he started his own subgenre of Star Trek movies. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I mean, I'm more of a horror guy, but you see the devotion to sci-fi there. It's interesting.
Yeah. No, and that's something I actually been talking about a lot lately whenever people ask me like why I've done, because I haven't done exclusively horror, but about 60 to 65, 70% of my output is horror movies. And people always ask why. And I always tell them because there's no community for romantic comedies. There's no community for dramas, really. I mean, people love them, but there's no fandom to go be a part of. But if you want to make friends and meet people, science fiction and horror, man, they've got that.
Especially like the B horror movies. Those things, those are fantastic. They get such a group that just seeks those out.
It's more fun to obsess about the stuff other people aren't obsessing about, too.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, it's an interesting obsession because again, you get that same almost a religious angle in horror. No, Michael Myers wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like wow. You know what I mean? They're still debating the last Halloween movie for gosh.
Yeah.
That's all the. I don't know where I was going with that. I just started talking.
That's all right.
Sometimes you do that.
Well, and I'm noticing as a movie fan that in the last 5-6 years, like when Trailers from Hell started happening, Joe Dante doing that there's becoming this desire for orators of fandom, people who can really put it into perspective what's going on. And it's really culminated with the return of Joe Bob Briggs when he brought his show back on Shudder, that, all these fans now want to sit and watch a movie, but they also want to watch a guy tell you all about, cinema and potentially also the Civil War or whatever else Joe Bob wants to tell you about.
Kind of a keeper in the flame, if you will. And Joe, I would argue Joe Bob Briggs is one of those guys because in the 80s and 90s, where did people discover B movies? Well, usually in USA's Up All Night, Yeah,
I was a Monster Vision kid. When I first saw Joe Bob Briggs on Monster Vision, I was 12 or 13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was obsessed with it.
That was gateway drug. That was your gateway drug. For me, before Monster Vision, we had a show on California. There was some hippie programmer, and there was a show called Movies Till Dawn.
Ooh.
And they would run like theme horror movies. They would run. I was a teenage werewolf. I was a teenage Frankenstein. How to Make a Monster. Or one night they would do like 3 David Carradine genre movies. Circle of Iron, Death Sport. I mean, all the nudity and everything interesting about it's cut out.
Wow.
But it was the only chance. It was the only chance until they got around to releasing them that you would see these movies. And that's what Joe Bob did for people.
Oh, yeah. I still remember watching Project Metal Beast with Joe Bob.
Wow, Project Metal Beast. I think Kane Hodder played the werewolf in that. I think Barry Bostwick's in it as well.
Barry Bostwick is in it, and I couldn't recognize Kane under all the makeup, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was a werewolf.
Well, that one also has one of the most beautiful women I've ever interviewed. There's an actress named Masada Vonder, who's like a dead ringer for Betty Page. She's in Project Metal Beast. I do remember when it was on Monster Vision, like, all right, I'll stay for her first scene, then I'm going to bed. I mean, where else were you going to see Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity or Attack of the Killer Bimbos,
It's true.
Yeah, there are a few of those I've seen. I haven't been as much.
I'm an obsessive person. I've seen most, if not all, of those. I've been that way since I was a teenager. I remember seeing Sorority House Massacre 2, Jim Wynorski's Sorority House Massacre 2 on Cinemax, and not knowing what it was. I was like 11 years old, and I didn't catch the listing.
I figured you figured it out pretty quick. Your title pretty much like that. Your title kind of tells us what.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, what happened was, when I was like 14, Corman started releasing those DVDs of all the Slumber Party Massacres and Sorority House Massacres, and I was just buying them up as they came out. And when I got to Sorority House Massacre 2, I just put it in my DVD player, dum-da-dum, and it starts playing. I'm like, this is that movie from Cinemax, the one with all the naked girls.
Yeah. Remember, Wynorski made that movie twice.
Yeah, because Hard to Die.
Yeah, Hard to Die, very good. And I mean, you're watching, and he made the exact same movie, except one was for Corman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The other was for his wife, because the first one was for Julie Corman.
Right. And he didn't really change anything. Everybody's the same. But I mean, it gave you B-movie queens like Brink Stevens and Linnea Quigley. Up All Night gave them national exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than seeing them on crappy UHF or on bad drive-in screens, you got to see them in full color, and you know what I mean? I mean, I dig that about the B movie. I dig that Joe Bob Briggs gave a national audience to really cool genre stuff, you know?
And I had the great fortune of directing Brinke Stevens last year.
Oh, wow, what did you do?
She was in a TV series I did called Boggy Creek, the series that Fred Olin Ray produced.
I've heard
You're
of
the
that.
Boggy Creek guy. I've heard of you. It's funny because your series started last year, right?
Yeah, it launched on Halloween Day last year.
And it's the Boggy Creek Monster, right?
Yeah, we got a big old Sasquatch. And actually, Don is in an episode as well.
I'm in episode 2.
Yeah. And
wow, so you're the Boggy Creek guy. I did not know that. No, it's funny because around Halloween last year, I did a horror movie came out. I played Bigfoot in a movie called Hoax.
I've heard of Hoax. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I've heard of that one.
Well, you'll know it because it's the Bigfoot movie where he eats people you've heard of.
That's funny.
I couldn't believe the quality of victims, you guys.
Nice.
I thought, well, I know these guys. And usually the Bigfoot movies, the topless screaming girl and like two of the fat comedy relief and the soldier, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So to go to Mexico and eat people as a Bigfoot was a lot of fun.
We had this beautiful Bigfoot suit for the series.
Nice, yeah.
And it was a pain in the butt to get on the actor and to move him around because he was basically blind. But it was so much fun to do a monster suit.
I had to do a running scene. I had to go after the girl from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I was using my nostril. I would angle the head so I could see out of the nostril because you're backlit anyway. And we're in the Rockies, so we're in the town where the cannibal ate everybody at the turn of the century, Alfred Packer.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in Lake City, Colorado. When they're having me do the balls out run, I realized why you never see. There's very rare. I think in one called Clawed, CLAWED, you actually see Bigfoot running. Half the time you can't because there's so many saplings and you're almost perpendicular in the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impossible. I mean, you break into a run and this place, it was snowing and raining in August in Colorado. It was the weirdest weather. It was embarrassing too for a Bigfoot. You had to put I had to put my hands on the shoulders of like this 5'1" PA who would lead me. Because like you said, you're blind. Who built your costume?
You know what? Their name is not on the tip of my tongue because Fred Olin Ray handled that. He's the one who managed them. So I just received the suit. But it was a couple based out of Texas. Their names are just escaping me because unfortunately I never got to communicate with them directly, so they're just not on the tip of my tongue. But they did an incredible job.
It wasn't Midian Crosby and Joshua Adams, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay, because they worked on ours, and Bill Munn. The legendary Bill Munns, who did the Swamp Thing costume, and he did Beastmaster. They brought in Bill Munns, who did all these great 80s movies. He did The Boogans, one of Stephen King's favorite movies.
Oh, yeah, The Boogans.
And, I met him as a teenage set crasher, so it was kind of exciting to share a cabin with him outside of this frontier cemetery in BF Egypt, or BF Colorado. How big was your Bigfoot?
Well, it varied. We always used camera tricks to make him appear to be over 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Shame on you. How tall was he?
In reality, we had two guys play Bigfoot. One was 6 foot tall.
I thought you had two different.
And one guy was 6'4" or 6'2".
I'm 6'9", so that's an insult to Bigfoot's fellas.
Well, we wouldn't have needed camera tricks. We actually, one of my favorite shots in the show is when, because Don plays a poacher in an episode, and our Bigfoot is a good guy. Our Bigfoot does not appreciate poachers. He doesn't appreciate women beaters. Our Bigfoot, he sets the record straight in Texarkana.
Yeah, he's a real good dude.
He's a good guy.
Texarkana, so you are literally in Boggy Creek country.
We shot it here in Ohio. So we didn't actually go to Texarkana, but we did try our best to get the right kind of atmosphere. We found a lot of really good, literally bogs and creeks and things like that. But when we had the Bigfoot,
I hope that party was at Cedar Point.
That would have been good. But when we did Don's big reveal where the Bigfoot stands up behind him to kill him, we just literally shot at low angle and had Don just be on his knees.
Yeah.
So you would never guess in a million years. So when the Bigfoot stands up, he really does look like he's 7.5 feet tall.
It's funny because that's like one of the epic shots in every Bigfoot movie. I mean, I was obsessed with Bigfoot. My mom was from Seattle. We grew up in Detroit. So my grandmother gave us this book called The Sasquatch Files by a guy named John Green. He was like a Bigfoot hunter. And so my brother Donald and I would stop fighting in the car to protect the family from Bigfoot and to keep an eye out for Bigfoot. My parents liked it because it shut us up instead of bickering. But it was kind of exciting because you would go up. I've been in the Trinity River. I've been to Bluff Creek. I've been to Willow Creek. You know, it's a beautiful area. And if an ape lives anywhere, it's got to be around there. You know.
Oh yeah. All right.
Wow. Did Dawn mention the Boggy Creek thing? You're on Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so is mine. Hoax.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm literally going to add it right now because I mean, I would not usually be on my phone, but I'm going to put it in my queue right now.
I've been writing down a lot of ththings in this.
Credit. Having done commercials for years, it's the greatest credit I will ever have in a movie. It's Bigfoot ... Pat Jankowicz. But yeah, you're the Bigfoot guy. I wondered who was making the Boggy Creek show because Legend, has the Pierce family given you any grief?
No, they've been perfectly. I mean, I haven't talked to them directly, but we haven't gotten anything other than excitement because they just got their original film remastered and put out on Blu-ray.
It's beautiful.
Which I'm thrilled with because I've always been a fan of the film. And when Fred Ray, the coolest thing was when Fred Olin Ray came to me with this concept. Fred's a legend in the business. Fred had.
I like Fred a lot. I did I moderated at Tarantino's Theater, the New Beverly. I brought Fred and the entire cast of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers in for like the 25th anniversary.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, well, and Fred, when he wrote, because Fred wrote like the series Bible and everything for the show, Fred had such a real adoration for the original movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Wow. And by the way, if you're getting praise from the guy who did Dinosaur Island, one of the greatest movies ever made, you're set.
I have an original one sheet for Dinosaur Island in my bedroom signed by Michelle Bauer, Jim Wynorski, and Fred Olin Ray.
That a poster of the Queen in the chair and the dinosaur in the chair?
You got it.
Wow. I told Fred that poster actually lives up to the movie.
Yeah, no, it's like Paradise, only better looking.
My friend Jeff Farley built for Beekler and Fred and all that. My friend Jeff Farley is the one who sculpted the T-Rex for that in Carnosaur.
Nice.
But Jeff Farley, who also built the Evil Bong, Jeff has this tabletop thing of the Carnosaur dinosaur, and it's just beautiful.
That's awesome. No, and
yeah.
Well, now you and I have definitely. Yeah, you and I have definitely clicked about our love of movies. That's for sure. Very quickly.
Yeah,
we have very similar tastes.
Which is bad because I have to take a break, but I really don't. Since we're pre-recording. So I'm going to say, hey, we're going to take a break right now.
Sure.
Ootsy, the Iceman, was a very chilled-out kind of soul, with a concave nose and his leathery skin, and 2 eyes made out of holes. Ootsy, the Iceman, was right in the glacier's way. Because of sheer dumb luck and a big-ass rock, he remains intact today. It must have been real lonely, 5,000 years frozen in the ice. And not only was it cold as shit, but his arm was stuck dabbing to the right. So then some mountain climbers found him, only good thing mountain climbers ever did. And for 2 whole days they chiseled him out like some block of frozen squid. Ootsy, the Iceman, was taken to a high-tech lab where he told scientists on a carbon date he was older than God's dad. Right next to his body was a beautiful copper-forged axe, I bet all his friends thought he smelt it really good, but his friends weren't alive to ask. Now Ötzi lives in a freezer. Scientists quibble over his remains. The only thing they agree upon is that his life ended with extreme pain. Ow! Ötzi, the Iceman, had a full stomach, so they say. So no one needed to be Sherlock Holmes to see his death involve foul play. Whackety whack whack whackety whack whack, Ötzi, he got whacked. Whackety whack whack whackety whack, took an arrow straight to the back. Jack.
Quickly.
Yeah,
We have very similar tastes.
which is bad because I have to take a break, but I really don't. I really don't since we're pre-recording, so I'm going to say, hey, we're going to take a break right now.
Sure, sure.
All right, welcome back to the Life Radio Show. That was a very quick break. I'll sort it out later.
We'll fix it in post.
Exactly.
Always fix it in post, Oz. You never will, but it always sounds good.
Yep. I didn't want to stop because we were rolling. So, okay, where were we?
Since we're talking about Bigfoot movies, I'm going to throw out a few titles. Boggy Creek is the Casablanca. Legend of Boggy Creek is the Casablanca of Bigfoot movies.
Mm-hmm.
I will also give you Creature from Black Lake is seriously underrated with Dennis Fimple and Jack Elam. You know, that was one of those movies I would watch on Movies Till Dawn as a kid, and I would always fall asleep. I remember my friend Kevin Petronic and I tried to watch it like 3 times as kids, and we kept falling asleep at the same part. But on Amazon Prime, you can watch the whole damn thing with the violence and all that. It's pretty good. It's a good Bigfoot movie.
You know? One of our big inspirations on the Boggy Creek TV series actually was not a movie, but it was the episode of In Search Of. About
curious hell that episode.
That episode was so scary, and actually that's what loosely became the episode that Don was in, because the idea was that he tried to kill Bigfoot, and Bigfoot wanted revenge, so they ended up locked in this cabin. And the Sasquatch is coming for him. So it was kind of loosely based on...
no. That's based on real Bigfoot lore, actually.
Yeah.
That's based on... You're talking about the Ape Canyon incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one of them took a shot at a Bigfoot they saw earlier in the day. And they were prospectors, I believe, or hunters in an avalanche cabin. And the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch attacked the cabin all night long. And what's really trippy about that, I forgot they did that on In Search Of. It's also in a documentary called Bigfoot or Sasquatch. You know, it's a cheap one. It's on Amazon Prime. That one's a good one too, because they mentioned Teddy Roosevelt wrote about running into people who'd seen Bigfoot. He wrote that in his journals.
Wow.
You know, and Bigfoot, I think it's called Bigfoot. It might be called Sasquatch. It's one of those 70s documentaries that you find on Amazon Prime. That's a good one. I mean, there's a lot of stock footage. You know, they'll have like 2 bears fighting, which folks don't mention match the rest of the movie. But I like that one. I went on a Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot, and I love how Amazon Prime, when you watch like 1 or 2 movies of a similar genre, they'll keep offering you other movies of that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, a big hairy smorgasbord.
Yes.
There's our show title.
Daniel Sanchez, who created the Blair Witch, he told me he was a Bigfoot obsessive. He was obsessed with Boggy Creek, and he wanted to make a Bigfoot movie, but they didn't have the money, so they came up with the Blair Witch instead.
That's smart.
Yeah, because he goes, they couldn't fit the budget, but he did a pretty good Bigfoot movie you can see on Amazon Prime. He did Exists, which I dig. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I have seen that one. I like that. Exists. I like that one a lot.
And the title is subtle. You know, it's not like not the Sasquatch screaming Sasquatch or anything. It's subtle.
Yeah.
So Exists is great. Abominable's terrific by Ryan Schifrin.
Oh yeah, I like Abominable. I've seen that one too. I'm surprised. I'm waiting for him to name one I haven't seen.
No, say it. I missed your comment.
Oh, I just said I'm waiting for you to name one I haven't seen. I'm surprised I've seen so many of them.
Well, Abominable is great, and again, this is no easy feat. They come up with the best death scene for Tiffany Shepis ever. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I had a blast with that one.
Yeah, that one, and it's like the movie was like a gift. It just kept, and Christian Tinsley played the Bigfoot, and he does a great job. He was that's an example. I met him He did my makeup on something, and I was shocked. I said, I thought you'd be my size. And he goes, camera tricks. So let's see, exists. Nightclaws, despite Red Brown, is kind of a drag. Sherry Rose is in it too, a great B-movie actress, but it doesn't really build, and it's sort of a cheat. Nightclaws, Red Brown's in it. It's a killer Bigfoot movie.
Okay, that one I have not seen.
Big Legend. Have you guys seen Big Legend?
I don't think so.
John Washington State. That one's kind of fun. That's there's always there's two types of Bigfoot movies. There's Let's Go Find Bigfoot, which never turns out well. And then Let's go drunk and high and have sex in the woods, and here's a Bigfoot. Bigfoot. Every plot to every Bigfoot movie is either Let's Go Find Bigfoot or Bigfoot Finds You. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm. Talking to a Bigfoot obsessive voice.
we could hear how excited you were getting, and we were getting excited too.
I can't wait to watch Boggy Creek, man.
I think you might get a real kick out of it. We had a blast. Man, let me tell you something. I mean, not to talk about Boggy Creek, the series, too much, but the best part about doing the series was we got to pitch. Fred had 2 episodes in mind that he wanted, and we had 4 more to come up with. So we got to pitch these episodes. And I was pitching like dream episodes, and I couldn't believe Fred said yes. Like, my ideas were like, what if there was a bunch of girls having a slumber party and Bigfoot? And he was like, yes. And I was like, oh my God, okay. What if Bigfoot fights a killer scarecrow? And he was like, yes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting everything I've ever wanted.
By the way, did you really think the guy who made Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers was going to say no to a Bigfoot crashing a slumber party?
You never know, because he had a very, like I said, remember when I said he was really into the idea of how much he loved Legend of Boggy Creek. You never know what his taste might have been for that specific project.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothers me about Legend of Boggy Creek, because it's such a low budget Southern 70s movie. I have my hunch on how they provided all those dead animals, so that part bothers me.
Yeah, definitely in that era.
When they find the cat on the yard, it's like, I don't want to know how they acquired that.
Yeah, better we not know.
Yeah, I'm giving them benefit of the doubt for acquiring.
It's all fake.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's good stuff. That's a 3-toed Bigfoot. Did you like Fred? How was he to work with? Because I've always dug him. I always thought he was interesting.
Fred was the nicest. I mean, he and I still talk occasionally. We're probably going to end up doing something together here in the near future. Fred, it was the most flattering thing in the world. I've been a fan of his work forever, and he saw, of all things, Babysitter Massacre. And he got in touch with me, and we started talking about doing something together. And he's just kind of been in the periphery. Every now and then I'll get an email from Fred, and he'll be like, I have this idea. What's your availability? Let's try and do something. Very flattering to get a chance to work with him. And it was also amazing because he's the one who sent me Brink Stevens for the pilot episode. He insisted.
That's trust, because Brink, to me, Brink is one of these genre legends. And she's a cool chick, and she's a smart chick. And I mean, when you look at Brink, she got her SAG card on a great 80s movie called Soul Survivor.
Yes.
I have seen that one. Yeah.
I mean, they finally just put it out. But, I mean, it was one of those great things. I saw it in a theater, but it was one of those things where it was just this obscure movie. You weren't sure if you dreamed seeing it. You know what I mean? And it was Final Destination long before Final Destination, you know?
Yeah, no, I really like that film a lot.
And she's worked with everybody. So if he gave you a Brink, that shows a certain amount of trust. He's giving you the keys to the caddy, basically, you know? Yeah,
and she was phenomenal. I mean, I'd met her at conventions, and I had never directed her, but I worked on a movie with her. And the funny thing is, I worked with her on a movie called, it was called Demon Divas and the Lanes of Damnation.
Good time.
And I crewed on that and was an actor in it briefly. So when Brink was talking to Fred about doing the show, all he had told her was like, there's this guy in Ohio, he's gonna do a great job, we'll send you out to work 2 days on the show, and then literally like 3 days later he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you Henrik's contact info, and her response was, Henrik Kudo? Because there's only one. There's only one. So then I got an email from her. She was like, "Hey, you get to direct me. I'm very excited." And it was an awesome experience.
That's great. You're directing Brink Stevens. I mean, talk about somebody from talk about one of Joe Bob Brigg's big stars.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
No, it was the best.
The cool thing is she's really smart. She's got a huge body of work, but she's really, really smart, really, really funny, and her stories are always great.
Oh,
you know?
They're amazing. Since we had her for 2 days of filming, I was able to book things in such a way that I had every meal every day she was here with her.
Nice.
Smart man. Smart man.
Oh, it was the best.
You know? Wow. And I mean, her stories, she's like the queen of San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, nothing but respect. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
She knows so much, and she's worked with so many and done so many films. Really smart, cool chick, you know?
Yeah, no, she was awesome to work with. I'm hoping I'll get to bring her out here again real soon. I blew her mind because when she landed, the plane landed, I texted her and said, "Are you hungry?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "What do you think? There's a really good Thai restaurant." And she was like, "Okay." And she was shocked because there was very good Thai food in Dayton, Ohio. She was not ready for it to be good. She was expecting it to be bad.
Wow, you know what? I never ate Thai food until I did a big story for Fangoria on Humanoids from the Deep, one of my favorite movies. And Barbara Peters introduced me to Thai. I never had pad Thai before Barbara Peters, and now it's like my favorite food. You know?
Oh yeah, and we had this great hole in the wall place too. It was not like you wouldn't think it would be particularly fancy, but the second you walk in, the entire staff is Thai, and you sit down, and the food was amazing. But I just remember her saying, like, "I can't believe this is so good. I just assume Ohio Thai food is not going to be this good." And I was like, "Yeah, you're with the right person. And tomorrow, Bigfoot becomes your best friend. Everything is coming up, Henrik."
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you so much.
All right. Do we want to hit a couple news stories?
Sure.
Cause we've got maybe like 8 to 10 minutes to do a couple news stories.
That's a perfect amount of time.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Let's hopefully we got some fun stuff here. Let's here this is stupid. Hey. All right, we're going to start off with dumb. Fast food worker has been fired after a video posted online showing him taking a bath in the restaurant's industrial-sized sink. The clip was uploaded to TikTok, where it was viewed thousands of times before being widely shared on other social media platforms. It shows a man sitting in the sink with soapy water up to his shoulders at a branch of Wendy's, while another person throws a cloth into the water, and he tells him to wash himself. The man wipes his chest before laughing and saying, "It feels like a hot tub, and I'm just enjoying life, boss," as a metal food tray is also slid into the water. The employee can be shirtless, and his bare knuckles are visible above the water, but it's unclear if he is completely naked.
I think that guy was just living his best life.
I think you're right. If you're going to work at Wendy's, every now and then you have to bathe in their
You
sink.
gotta unwind.
I worked at Wendy's. God help this guy. You know?
Exactly. You know what he's going through.
The weird thing about Wendy's is, I just remember it was my first and worst job. It was a high school job, and I remember the manager. The manager was this sad little man with this droopy mustache. And at any time he said, "I got a big job for you," you knew it would be the crappiest job of all. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I remember in high school, he goes, got a really important job for you. You know, and everyone called him Marvin because that was a serial killer running around Southern California at the time, because he looked like this murder suspect from the news. And he's got a really important job, and he grabs me and my friend, and he gives us the chicken gloves. And I'm thinking, oh boy, we're being moved up to chicken. But no, he wanted us to pick up the cigarette butts in the parking lot. And apparently it was a waste of broom to have to just sweep the lot. And a bunch of girls from school we saw driving up. Well, he didn't make it in time. I hid behind a dumpster for like 20 minutes because I didn't want to be seeing that awful toothpaste tube costume with the hat and the blue and white stripes. I'm hiding behind the dumpster praying they leave. It felt like a serial killer. Yeah, and Wendy's chili, again, I remember once watching a shift manager because they were doing closing procedures. Again, never go to a fast food place right before they close.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Any food place right before they close is never a good idea.
And I remember me and like 5 other people putting our mouths on the frosty machine at the end of the night. You would get this high. It was like instead of like inhaling Cool Whip, you would turn on the frosty machine and eat frosty until you had an ice cream headache.
That's also living your best life.
See, I think everybody should. I think everybody should have to work in the food service industry for at least a year. At least a year. That you will be so much more respectful of other people because
you would give up on me because I quit after 3 months.
See, if I go into a restaurant and it looks like they're about to close, I'll say, "Are you guys about to close?" And the wait staff almost always says, "Well, you're fine. Come on in." It's like, yeah, you might be okay with it, but the guy in the kitchen that's going to be handling my food's not going to be. He's not going to be happy.
That's when you just say, "I want a turkey sandwich."
This is Wendy's. This is years ago, but I remember they dumped all the chicken preparation stuff in the trash can, because we were just about closed. And somebody insisted on chicken, and I remember the shift manager rolling the chicken around, raw chicken, in the top of this trash can on the flour that he'd already dumped. And I remember watching that, knowing somebody was going to pay to be eating garbage.
Oh, that's rough.
Oh, God help us! I mean, he just dumped it in the. And fast food trash cans are like the most revolting thing I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oof. Well, like comedy club trash cans.
I don't
just
even
dump
want to imagine.
Everything into those things.
You.
And yeah, they're nasty.
There's nothing funny about those.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, one more news story. A gigantic skeleton was found washed up on a Scottish beach during Storm Sierra. And locals near Aberdeen have speculated that it could be the remains of the mythical Loch Ness. I can't talk right now. Loch Ness Monster, despite the notorious body of water being roughly 120 miles away. The photos of the rotting carcass were posted online by Aberdeen-based community Facebook page Fubar News.
A trusted source in news.
Right, exactly.
If you can't trust the Fubar News, who can?
Hours after Storm Sierra battered Britain with 90-mile-per-hour winds, Fubar News posted, came across a weird creature today near Aberdeen. Any ideas what it could be? Possible suggestions of the identity of the mysterious North Sea creature were put forward, with folks saying it was a whale, orca, or a dolphin. But apparently Loch Ness Monster won out on that one.
Well, they also found this eyeless fish creature. Did you see the pictures of that?
I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
That strikes me as Fukushima. I think that's Fukushima radiation. I'm a seafood junkie, but I've been staying away from it because they said the whole ecosystem was kind of thrown off by Fukushima. The fish went everywhere.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm fortunate. I'm not a big seafood person, so I might be okay.
Well, you're in Ohio, so you got Hardee's, right?
Yeah, there you go.
We were talking about Hardee's right before the show.
Well, we were talking about that on the last episode, weren't we?
Yeah.
We just recorded an episode, so yeah.
I did a Hardee's commercial, and to me, I love Hardee's, and I was so excited, and then I found out. Because I used to eat it as a kid, but then I found out Hardee's is just Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Carl's Jr. is everything,
Yep. When I was a kid, the Hardee's around me had a big play place for kids to play, and that was where the poor kids had their birthday parties. I would know because that's where I had my birthday parties.
Right.
but
Chuck E. Cheese for you, broke kid.
It's like, sorry, Chuck E. Cheese? Nah, that's for the kids with a little bit more class. You go play in the ball pit.
Mom looked at you and said, Farrell's is for closers.
Well played, sir.
Maybe your sister can have Chuck E. Cheese, but you're going to do this.
First place is a brand new Cadillac car. Second place is a set of steaks. Third place is birthday at Hardee's.
It's not that we love your sister more. It's just, she presents better. You have more of a crazed loner look to you.
Man, we've
Your
covered
father and I
everything.
want to throw good money after bad.
We've covered everything from Bigfoot, writing books, all the way to Glengarry Glen Ross and
There you
Dinosaur
go.
Island.
Yep.
I can't. This is a well-balanced diet right here.
Bring Stevens and David Mamet.
We are killing it.
All over the place. That's what I love about my shows. You never know. I bring the best guests on to talk about whatever the hell we want, and that's
Right now,
pretty
that's
much-
Hardy and David Mamet.
Well, as much as I hate to do it, we're going to have to close up shop. But I do want to I want to give you a chance. If you have any social media out there you want to promote, any shows you want to promote, anything you have coming up that you want to throw out, this is your time
sure.
to do that.
Okay, well, it's too late to promote it, but I had 2 commercials on in the Super Bowl. I was the medieval waiter I was the medieval bartender in the Tide, Charlie Day, Bud Light commercials.
Nice.
Book 4, whenever I get it done, will be probably in. Sorry to my editor. I wrote part of a cover story on The Binding Woman next month in Infinity. I've gotten the new Star Wars Insider. I wrote the article going Greedo on the actors who played Greedo. What else is out there? Let's see. Also, the Infinity, I saw at Barnes & Noble, the Infinity magazine with my Batman cover story is still out, so if you want to read that. Hoax, even though it came out last year. Hoax is on Amazon Prime, and it's a damn fine Bigfoot movie. I think you should all check it out.
I added it to my watch list.
Thank you. I'm in a movie with, I'm a monster chasing Danny Trejo around a cave. That's
Nice.
This year. Carnoctus. I'm Carnoctus. He looks like
Carnoctus.
a turtle spider thing. And let's see. Geez, so that's it for me. How about you? Babysitter Massacre. What do you got coming out?
I just had a film called Ouija Room come out nationwide in Walmart.
You know what? That's on pay cable, right?
It might be, because it actually, like, the time that we're recording this, it just started its rollout on VOD and pay-per-view.
I saw it on DOD. I listened. I didn't know that was yours. Our friend, she played a ghost in the original Ouija, so I told Donald, more money for her, but no, you're knocking her off.
Sorry. You know what happens when...
He's in the Blumhouse Ouija house.
Yeah, well, they've got, I don't think they're going to be hurting from missing out on some residuals from my little movie, but yes, Ouija Room, which just, physical media as far as Walmart, and then, of course, it just hit video on demand, so it's on Vudu.
Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
so much.
major. I mean, the VOD is basically the new drive-in, in Amazon Prime. I mean, millions of people will see your movie, but it'll be their choice to click onto it.
Yeah.
It's not that they're going to have, 2 teenagers going to have sex at the drive-in. They're choosing your show. That makes sense?
Right.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I'm very
So
thrilled.
they'll be able to have sex in their living room.
Yeah.
while it's on. So
And they can pause it if they like it.
Right. Otherwise, it's just background noise.
It better be their living
room.
room.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I have to say.
And even though it's your
Fine.
show, don't I demand you print something.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for calling in. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. Henrik, thanks for coming in as
My
well.
pleasure.
Always fun to have you on the show. And
I
will.
agree. Don and Henrik, you guys are a blast. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I sent you a friend request on Facebook, by the way.
Oh. I'm joking. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Let's see. Who do I have coming up on the show this Tuesday? Because this episode won't go out to the following Tuesday. So actually,
Well, this is my first show, so I don't know who the hell you're coming in.
exactly.
You're asking us?
I'm asking myself out loud. Actually, this will go out as a podcast on the 25th and in the morning. And then on the 25th in the evening, we'll be doing a live show on the Life Radio Show on WWSU. We'll also be live on Facebook. Charlie Hester is going to be my co-host, along with Adrian Miller as my co-host.
Nice.
And we are going to be Larry Hankin is going to be calling in. So that's
Very
going to be a great show. So that'll be a lot of fun. Be sure to tune in for that. Thanks again to both of you guys, Pat Jankwitz and Henrik Kuto, for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun. And
Don and Henrik, true pleasure. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tune in next week. We're out. Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, we are on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. You can also stream the show live at WWSU1069.org, and we go Facebook Live at the Life Radio Show's Facebook page. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email thelife1069@gmail.com.
Presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
Yeah, that's the I don't know where I was going with that.